Hari Om Namo Shivaya. 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 Hari Om Namo Shivaya.
Namaste.
Hello, welcome to Delhi, everybody. Good, good. Now we're finished off by the stairs. It's nice here, huh? Oh, let's take it. Right, right. Okay. Okay. Namaskar, namaste. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Delhi. I'm your host in Delhi. Hello. And the guest, the host and the guest. Very good. So everyone is fine? Everybody's fine? So if everybody's fine, you don't need to come and see me.
What to do about this place?
What to do about what
When
place?
everybody is okay.
Leave them alone. If you go to some place and everybody's okay, like this, they say, we're okay, we don't need it. Then you leave them alone. Okay, bless you. You don't need to, because you'll just disturb yourself if you go there. And there's a time. Consciousness is playing this role for a while. A seeming sense of everything is okay with us, we are fine. So even spirituality is only some amusement for them. Even if you say the most profound thing, they will go, oh yes, very interesting. And that's as much as you're going to get. Very interesting, oh boy. Thank you. Jolly good. Ciao. This is the worst case. And it's not that you go to a place where things are not good. That is a question of attitude. Still, there were great kings in this country, who had everything that a mortal-minded human being could want. And still they said something I have not got. What is the value of all of this if I don't have peace and if I don't have joy and happiness? What is the point of having even a king's kingdom? if I don't have peace. This is a wise king, isn't it? There was such a king here, Janaka maybe. So even kings, they were wise enough to know that something is missing. And it said that in the old days that even great kings and emperors would bow down at the feet of an illiterate sage, meaning one had no learning, no academic accomplishment, but even kings and emperors would bow at the feet of an illiterate sage. Why? At least the kings and the emperors must be wise enough to know whose feet they're touching. They must have had something in them, because some of these avaduts and so on, they were not even bathing. They wouldn't go and take a bath for the king. The king is coming, oh, Swamiji, please take a shower. Well, what for? You know, so they must be at least wise enough to know whose feet they're touching, to put their head at the foot of what others who would regard only as some mendicant, some riffraff king. So. I like these type of meetings. We have, I was going to say one day, we don't have one day because I have some other things to do today. In 1 hour, what is possible in 1 hour? It's a lot of time, you know. It's a lot of time if you are single-minded. Just imagine, first, it's a lot of time if you're single-minded. Why am I saying that the highest accomplishment in the human kingdom is possible within 1 hour? Half an hour. Quarter of an hour. 5 minutes. Nobody will tell you 5 minutes is useful anywhere. Nobody will tell you 5 minutes is useful anywhere. 1 minute. If you say, listen, I have 1 minute to spend with you, who wants it? Then they spend half a minute thinking about if it's a good deal, and then another 15 seconds looking and see if you're serious. And then the next, well, you know, it's finished. What is possible in 1 minute? Half a minute. Any use to anybody, half a minute? Huh? This is the paradox, in fact, that if we can say that even in half a minute, the highest attainment possible for a human being in the human kingdom. Other things, lesser things you cannot achieve in half a minute. For a scientist, half a minute is not so good. Doctor, no. Musician, no. Nothing at all. A kiss, maybe. But half of a minute, everybody's walking away from you already. We say, I've got half an hour, a cup of tea. I'm putting that the highest thing is possible in the human kingdom in 1 minute. Less than 1 minute also. And who would take my word seriously? Who would take? Yeah, a few of you say would take it seriously. This is good. I like this because, in fact, you achieve great things when you have no time. When you don't have time. We have too much luxury. Time is too much luxury for us. Time to think about something. Should I not? And maybe, and all this is not good. But for the highest thing, I'm not saying if you have to fix a car, maybe 1 minute, 5 minutes not enough or something. But 1 minute to awaken to the truth of your own nature, to be happy for all time. to be free. Millions and millions of people, it's possible to be free, but they don't want it. They don't even know about it, what it means, freedom even. Even as a concept, it is not known. Even as a concept, it is not known. Freedom is associated with politics and prisoners. Happiness. Happiness is associated with material things and romantic associations. Peace is associated with what? Sleep. Who is awake and sleep and death. Sleep and death. Because even to say rest in peace, you have to go to the cemetery. In the cemetery you see rest in peace. But amongst the living we don't see it much. And what is these words about? These are key words in the human, for not just human, sentient beings. All sentient beings need to experience peace, happiness, joy, wisdom, trust, love. I said love. All forms of love also. Good morning, darling.
So I had a very interesting conversation with myself yesterday. So now the question came up is, who am I really having a conversation with? So my mind was talking, but my main question to you is it possible that the mind is being suddenly nice, knowing the fact that I'm trying to explore and observe, and it's suddenly being very nice and manipulating me in that way that I am nice?
Yeah, first of all, the mind cannot manipulate you. It's you who feel manipulated. Mind cannot manipulate you, because also mind is not a sentient thing. Mind does not exist independent of you. You cannot have a mind running around here by itself. Okay? It is a relationship. Mind is a relationship that is triggered when you somehow are in corresponding, sort of like with that energy field of thought, So I don't see the mind as, at some point, if you give tremendous amount of attention to mind and you start to see it as a separate thing talking to you, at some point it can seem to separate and have a life of its own. It can even appear to you as a form, even peel away from you and then appear as though it is a separate entity having a conversation with you. It can do this. This is all within the capacity of consciousness to manifest in innumerable ways. So the mind can be like this. But for most people, it starts off as though, yes, my mind says this to me, my mind says this to me. And sometimes we are not clear the difference between yourself and your mind. Sometimes it feels like my mind is myself. And sometimes it feels like I've got a terrible mind. You see? But often, in most cases, people take ownership of mind. They say like, it's my mind is like that. My mind is like that. Can you show me your mind if it belongs to you? Can you produce mind and show mind? You see, mind is not a thing. It's just a flow of thought that then is corresponding to the sense of you who is the thinker thought. We call it thinker thought. I will come to that a bit more. And that is what, when the sense of yourself is corresponding to the thought, they create, through conditioning and so on, creates this kind of conversation that I'm having a conversation with my mind. And I'm going to show you shortly that you are neither of those, actually. You're not fully the one who is conversing with my mind listening. That is also still some sort of distortion of consciousness. It is not the true consciousness. It is consciousness, but it is very distorted because it's got a lot of personal noise in it, and it's fluctuating. It's not steady. It is always changing. So something is earlier than that witnesses this changeful aspect of the person. You see, and this is the goal of our research this morning, and I hope you find it. You're going to, as soon as you recognize what I'm unceasingly pointing to, you're going to discover something very beautiful. All the pressure is off you to solve your life, to become happy. All of this will fall away. This is why I'm telling you it is possible today. In this way I've come. I've not come to just have a discussion and to have a cup of chai and leave you here. So if you come at least with this attitude that, okay, I'm here for the all possible. Some people are a little bit afraid of this type of, coming together because it feels maybe a bit risky, but it's only risky to the ego, not to yourself. And you must know the difference between yourself and your ego. Very often we are functioning like we are the ego, and the ego is what makes you unhappy and confused and live merely as a mortal being. Whereas we are three-layered, you can say. You are the body, the sort of body feeling, the belief you are the body, or the body-mind, you can say. The sense of being, which I call natural presence, which is not a person, and the absolute. You must discover your absoluteness, because it's only in the absolute, you see, that you are timeless, eternal, immortal. All this is within this body. All of this. But most human beings don't go further than the body-mind. We live at the body-mind layer because it is also a layer of consciousness. And that's what we are primarily attached to, conditioned to function at this level. That's when you're a regular member of society and you believe in society's values and live by the norms of these culture and traditions and so on, and go no further. You have your children, you have your job, you have your money, and you grow old and you die, and that's it. Leave a few photographs behind. But you are much more than this. Then if you go to the state of presence, what I call presence, whereby you are aware of this dynamic life, which most people have. You go into school or university, or your children are doing this, and you're trying to pay off your mortgage or whatever people do with their lives and whatever. You see, if that's the layer that we live, it is going to be fraught with some stress, anxiety. It is not a constant field. It is fluctuating in waves of, little waves of largely a life full of promises unfulfilled. A life of pursuit. This is the life of most human beings. The next layer of presence. Now, I gave this example quite a few times in Rishikesh this year, where I gave an example of these two birds in the tree. That one bird was in the tree building a nest, very busy, flying off, coming back, building a nest and so on. And then on a branch just a bit above this first bird is another bird who is just sitting watching. It's not building anything. It looks identical to the first bird, but it's only observing. And also, it is not only observing the first bird. It's also seeing the sky. It's feeling the wind. It's watching the trembling leaves of the tree. It's looking down to the ground. It's aware of the branch. It's aware of its feeling. It's aware of this first bird. But it's not in an active state. Now these two birds are connected, you see. First bird I call represents our dynamic being, our dynamic self, which we have just been talking about, the self which is engage in the world and the future and time and past and growing and all of this. This is the first bird. It's an aspect of ourselves that we are living, and my family and my children and the future and so on. The second bird represents that conscious witnessing within you, the ability to observe the life taking place, okay? But it is not actually doing, it is observing activities unfold. Now this bird is a higher state, you see? It is still within the same body, no? But it is merely observing. It is not manipulating. He is not hoping, oh, I hope, oh, hope. No, he's very still. He's simply there, no? Like this. You must know this bird. You must find this bird. And this bird, not a bird, of course. You have to find this bird state. It's a metaphor for a certain state, whereby you can see your dynamic activity, because also this is the functioning of consciousness. Consciousness wants to be doing some dynamic activity. Not all, because some dynamic activity is produced strongly by egoic projection. Now, if I can take a little time just to talk a bit more about this, because some activity, we say all activities are performed by consciousness and the life force, okay? But there are different categories of this functioning. There's an activity which is happening completely naturally, in spite of your intention to do them. They are just happening, they are unfolding. This is your cosmic activity, it's happening like this, no? Then there's the activity that's generated by what? Your conditioning and desire and attachments and fears and so on. This is a much more hasty field. You see? It's always acting prematurely. It is functioning out of insecurity and fear. I better act now because it might be late. I might not get the result I want and so on. So this also is activity, and actually consciousness is also responsible for this. But it is two-star consciousness. Is low-level consciousness, meaning that it is heavily immersed in personhood. The other one, activities are going, they're just happening somehow. They're going like this. They belong, I say, the cosmic activity, the activity for which this body was made to perform. Okay? It's happening. Sometimes nobody understands why you're doing it, you, even including yourself, you don't know why you're doing a certain thing. There's a cosmic activity also happening like this. Next layer is a layer of conscious presence, whereby you're observing but not identifying. Just learning to observe. You're observing your thoughts, and the thoughts come and say, yeah, let's go and do this, or this is really horrible, that's really horrible. And then you can find out, to whom is this thought talking to? Who is it conversing with? You see? Who is it calling to go and so on? Because there's clearly another space which is not participating in all of that scenario. You understand? This observer space, represented by the second bird, simply is there. It's aware of the chattering of this bird, the thought activity, the wind and the sky, the rain and the earth, and all of these things is aware. But being without attachment, it is experiencing tremendous joy and inner space. Its climate is peacefulness, and joy, and love, and an all-encompassingness about it. It's very silent. Its vibration or aura is very peaceful. Okay? That is what we call the second stage. That is the area where you will experience what is called Satchidananda, meaning that the natural awareness that you exist timelessly, and Chid, the consciousness of that, and the Ananda, the joy or the bliss or the happiness of that state. That is the perfume of self-awareness. All the beings, they enjoy this beautiful state. You're peaceful. Other people sometimes misread you. They look and they say, oh, you're looking a bit sad, but inside you're full of joy. Because most people, they judge only on the surface. And this is why a lot of people go around looking like, to try and fake that they're happy so people don't trouble them. You see? But someone can look like this and be in total bliss. You see? But these superficial readings, people are not aware of them. So the state of what we may call conscious presence is the goal of much spiritual striving. At least to come to that state, then you find that your mind is working much more intuitively. It's more sitting inside the heart. It's more moving like this. When people speak with you, you don't feel pulled into their space so easily. Now you begin to experience greater sense of peace. And you're not in such a hurry. Your mind is not so entangled, so confused. This is a state of presence. And most beings, once they start to enjoy this state, they are quite happy to stay here. Thank you very much. Can we just press continue? Is it? And I'm happy. And then rare, some beings, after a while of being in the state of this presence, begin to observe that even the beautiful state of presence is also observable. It is also phenomenal. This is rare. Then when you're in the position to observe that even the state of presence with all its beauty that will satisfy every human being, but even that is phenomenal, then you are in the state of the unspeakable. No one can understand you. Nobody can understand you. They can love you, they can worship you, they can feel the vibration of something. Your presence will act upon them without any intention, like this. That is the state of the avadut, the pure awareness self. No one can evaluate that bliss. That's unfading bliss. There are no discerning characteristics you can say, oh, because so and so and so, this one. No, you cannot. Just your being is reacting to that presence. Maybe or maybe not. They know all the levels of consciousness. That's rare, you see. That's the jnani state. They witness also this world through the body and the senses and experience joy, but they're not attached to even the state of presence. And their behavior can also vary in its expression. Some may be loving, some may be not at all interested in people. You never know. But they breathe a certain, they give off a certain kind of spiritual oxygen that the beings that replenish the earth. All these stages are within you. All these stages are within each one. Yeah. It's a question of how deeply you will explore. The highest state is not a functioning state. It's not like it's not doing anything. Because it is, all of this is. This never says thank you to that. It's not even aware of that. And yet, it is everyone's daily experience, but you're unaware of it. It is everyone's daily experience, but you are unaware of it. Because we take something else to be the standard of our experience. Even Satchidananda, even the state of joy and peace and love, it is your daily state, but you're not aware of it, not aware of it. If it was not there, nothing else could be there. The greater must be there before the lesser. The source must be there before the expression. The mother must be there before the child is there. So that is the source. Everything else is attached through some invisible umbilical cord to the source. Everything is done. Even an atom has this divine umbilical cord to the source. It is one with it. You experience a kind of conversation going on in your mind, say, something is, talking about, what am I going to do? I don't know, but perhaps you should do this. Who is talking to who? Who is talking to who, and who witnesses this conversation?
Actually, the conversation is good. So I'm in a joyful state of mind right now, and the conversation is good. So I'm wondering whether it's really just a joyful state, or is it my mind just saying good things?
Okay, tell me, you say it's good. What makes it good? Tell me a little bit.
I feel good about myself. I feel good about who I am, or what I do, or how I respond or react. I feel that it's not an instant feeling. It's good. It doesn't. So when I'm feeling so good about anything that I do,
Can you feel this good about not doing also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So and surprisingly, the mind is saying good things. It's chattering a lot, and I can feel myself observing it too.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I just because my mind is saying.
Do you observe it, and do you also ignore it when you do?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Ignore it as in I listen to it and do nothing about it.
Okay.
And I was just confused whether I should worry about it. Why is it good? Or should I just be?
And when you say I, whether I should worry about it, could you give me a sense of what is contained in your sense of I when you speak of yourself?
The bird that's looking.
The bird that is looking.
That's observing.
Yeah.
I'm not reacting surprisingly.
Okay. Then it does. This bird does not worry. He's not a worrying bird. He's not worrying. If it's detached, you see, if you are attached, you will worry. If you are attached, if you are detached, you will not worry. You will simply observe, and after a while, the conversations you will not keep observing because they will make you tired. You'll see the point of it, because the point of observing is not that you always observe, because if you're observing like that, you'll get pulled in, and you'll start to somehow get into some story. The purpose of observing is to recognize that whatever it is that you are looking at is only ephemeral. It's impermanent. It's a play. It has no lasting value. Once you see this, then the tendency to be engaged with this will somehow peter out. It will just thin away and leave just a space of silence. And in this silence will deepen and become a kind of vacuum silence, I'm using this term, meaning that even though sensations are coming through the ears, but inside the heart, total silence is not touched by it. See, sounds coming through the ears does not constitute noise. Inside could be in total serenity, and outside could be a tsunami. Inside, total peace. When here is total peace in the heart, the tsunami will not last long, because it has to be fed. Any mental state has to be fed to prolong. If it doesn't get the fuel of your attention, interest or belief or identity, it cannot perpetuate. It will just cease. Is it useful what I'm talking about, or we can change the subject, But we can only change it to another aspect of the same subject. There's only one subject.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Really, I was in Rishikesh and the world was beautiful. And I came back to Delhi. And that was a kind of a thing that, things will change with the change of place.
Yeah.
And I tell you, when I came back, my world became much more disturbed, crazy, and more volatile inside my head.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know, there was some peace which was not leaving me. It is again and again striking against something, and something in me is just not moving. It is just, and then I was looking forward to the time when you are going to be in Delhi again. So I was thinking that Rishikesh will come back in Delhi, and it seems that it walks with me. And look, today when I was sitting here, I don't know, most of things happen when I'm waiting for you. I saw the bird flying away right now in the sky, and the thing was, it struck me all of a sudden, Mooji, I don't need peace. I never needed it. It was always there. And I'm just fine with everything which my life has to offer me. It has been so good and so beautiful. I want all the fire which has been there, which will come, I want it now. This peace is not what I can do.
It is what a beautiful discovery, isn't it?
And if not this fire, Mooji, what else? What I've taken birth for? To fight these fires, it's so beautiful. Because the peace is not leaving me.
Yeah. Well, self and peace and joy is synonymous, same thing. It's like you cannot separate the perfume from the flower, isn't it? If I give you a flower and then it has no perfume, it's my God, no? But you cannot separate this perfume. The perfume is peace and joy and love. It's going to be there with this flower. But this flower nobody can touch, nobody can hold it. This flower. The fragrance you can smell, but the flower no one can find. When you say I is this flower. When you say I is this flower. But nobody can hold this I. You hold the body, it's not this flower, it's not the flower. But the fragrance, the joy, the peace, the love, all of that oozes out of this I am. And so if something is to burn, it's going to burn. And now you are not afraid of the burning. So some people, when they're not used to the burning, they're ouch, oh, please, and they want to run away. But others, they fold their hands in the burning and they say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They love this fire because it's a purging fire. It burns what you are not. This fire, this blessed fire. Others will run. The mind wants you to run. It lights a match. You start to run. But now you say, come, bring some benzoin or so when you come in. Sure. Bad, see? Because you experience that which cannot be burnt, you see.
One thing I want to share with you. I didn't know. I've been experiencing this always, but mind did know certain things. Long time back, when I was coming back from a mountain in Darjeeling, and when I looked at the mountain, Mooji, I had a very clear feeling that this mountain is my flesh. And for a momentary felt that, if I die and this body merges in it, it will be so beautiful. I had a very, very clear feeling of that. The other day in Rishikesh, when I was at Avuto ashram, I was looking at Ganges. It almost felt as if, I want to drown in it. It is not a suicidal thing, but I felt that. And then immediately when I felt that, Ramdas was there. In my life, I have never touched water which is from the market, whatever. We always have a fear of that, having water from the river or something like that. So Ramdas was there, he had this bottle full of Ganga river. The moment I had a feeling that I want to drown in the river, Ramdas offered me that water. He told me, don't even think about it, have it right now. And I gulped it down, and I felt that this was dangerous. That was thing. And then I look at the sky, I feel I am the sky. And Mooji, after meeting you, all these distance which I felt with these things, and I couldn't understand, that has come to rest. That has come to rest. And I know deep inside me what you mean, that all is in this body. I feel it so much. But I can't believe it, that how can it be in this body?
Yes. I mean, it's not the body.
Yeah.
It's not the body. The body is a simple kind of a vessel, or somehow you may say. A kind of psychic vessel for these energies have to be anchored in something. So like this is there. I have to say I'm very, very pleased when I come to India, because I feel actually something is in the Indian mentality, the Indian heart, that only needed to have some things cleared out the way. And this is what I find, because these things, we are recording them, is going to be showed in Europe, and I am not at all, I very much want them to hear. Because something is here, in you, because of your upbringing. You may have somehow been a little bit out of touch with it, I don't know. But it is there. And it makes what I am pointing to now, make it very easy for you to awaken. Western mind has a lot more arrogance, has a lot more resistance, more psychological noise. So we also experience the state of awakening, but we doubt it more. They doubt it more. Yeah, it's just my mind, maybe it's just my mind, and so on. You see? Like that. But something is here, in the Indian psyche, I think, that makes it very easy. Once some little things need to be put out the way. When we were here in Tiruvannamalai, I went one time to one traditional ashram. We were having satsangs there, and the devotees of this particular Guruji, they are very traditional. The men sit one place, women sit one place, and so on. They never touch. I never touch their Guru. Then I came along, and we were having satsang, and they were there. And they could come and touch me and stuff. They were very, we can touch him. And then we started talk one evening. A group of the women came to the house. And I talked to them a little bit about this Advaita, non-duality path. And in the space of maybe 1 hour, bing, 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 they're all blowing up on fire for it. Straight in. Something is here like that. That I feel maybe it's been a little bit hidden here for some time. I don't know why it was hidden. You see? But I see in satsang how easily, again, you're like fish to water. I'm pointing, and somehow something is catching it. Because it's so beautifully simple, It is so beautifully simple. Only thing is, maybe sometimes a lot of some tradition gets in the way, a lot of expectations and things like this, but they're not the difficult things. Every human being will experience some resistance, some little sense of obstacle. And the consciousness needs this friction to grow. It is as though the consciousness creates the sense of a problem in order to have the experience of transcending. It is part of the way in which consciousness is sort of like evolve, or it experiences the concept of evolution. I'm going to say it like this, no? One day you're going to know what I'm speaking, because actually it is always perfect. It is always perfect, playing imperfect to reach the perfect. Okay? Very good. Okay, thank you. Very good. Yes, good. Namaste.
I have what you said about the 3 stages.
Yes, go on. It's okay, yes.
what you said about the 3 stages.
Yes.
Is it that all 3 can exist together?
Yes.
So the presence is there. Does the presence have to do anything to get to the absolute, or does it happen on its own? Does it just staying in the presence get you there? Like you said, you have to search. You
Yes.
have to be curious.
Yes.
So
What creates this curiosity?
what is the next step? Because it seems to me that the presence does its work. I don't know what to
It doesn't work.
It does its own work.
It does its own work. And that would be what?
Just marinating in it, just being there.
Yes.
Somehow at this moment I feel that is enough.
Yes,
But
that is the
what-
beauty. That is the beauty. You have come to the meditative state. Here you are going to really be in love with beingness, with the state of being, whereby it is in the state of the personhood. Whatever you have to go out and get and taste. Mango, mango, orange, bread. But in the state of presence, it is the source also of a lot of this joy. You see? So in a sense, when the presence is incubating in presence, you see, it generates so much total completeness and contentment and joy. You see, it is just marinating, incubating in itself. It is just like this. That's all it's doing. Sometimes people say, what is your sadhana? I said, no. It's like this. Inside is like that. I used to spend a lot of time just sitting in my room. And, it's very universal. You understand? You're inside and the whole universe there. Sometimes you feel you shrink down to the size of an atom, but the whole universe is in this atom. Just it's there, and just everything is brought to it. Then you're losing interest in the outer things. They happen, but you're not manipulating there. You're not interested how the outcome. You're in a higher state of consciousness. So somehow that consciousness just loves to love. It's in love with itself, in a sense, in the most beautiful way. And somehow in here it pulls in and holds in so much power there. Sometimes you go out walking, so much peace. Then the peace start to behave like Shakti. It's like there's so much peace, the legs start to jump and whoa, sit down, and sit down. Because so much power. Or sometimes it's like the body is full of mercury. It's like you're a solid emptiness. It's kind of funny thing. It's so peace, so much peace. You can't move like this. All types of states you experience like this. But it is a beautiful self-love, and it's marinating in itself like that. And those who are sensitive, they are very attractive to this energy field. They are very much attractive. They see and they are responding. They feed on your presence in the most beautiful way. So that is the work. I remember in the Bible there was someone asked Jesus, so what is the work? What is the work of God? What is the work of God? Because they want to go to temple, they want to do all this stuff and RT and da. He said the work of God is to believe in the one that He has sent. He said to them, no? The work of God is to believe in the one who God has sent. No? It's not what they were expecting. He said just trust. He means trust. Yeah. And this presence in you, be one with it. The mind might say, listen, you spend all your days doing nothing at all. What is happening to your life? You are just, you just want to just be here, just get completely, what they say happen after a while, you become what? Stagnant or vegetable, stale vegetable. No, but inside you are. No one can understand what is happening to you. You're the most beautiful. When it wants to get up and go, it gets up and go. It can get up and go and do its business. Our life makes too much sense. I remember in those days, I remember sometimes I go out and I say, I don't do anything of my own volition. It must be something that must somehow be inspired by the Spirit or something. So I won't do. And then sometimes I go out and like I'd go walking and then it just feels to stop. And I'd stop. I said, stop on the road. And then I realized this is not good, because it looks a bit funny, people passing, looking at you, you know. So after that I'd go out with a little notebook. And if I'm walking and it feels to stop, I'd stop and then I'll just pretend like I'm looking for something. Then to take the attention off myself, things like this. Or I'd find one time I found myself in the middle of the market, standing in a queue. I wanted to go walking. I was standing in a queue, vegetable queue. There's like 15 people, and you know, it's like here's carrots and tomatoes and stuff. I said, but I don't want anything. But I'm in this queue, and the queue is going down and moving. And I think, I don't know what I want. I'm looking at the vegetables, but I said, I don't want, but something's put me in this queue. I come right down, and then one lady before me, and yes, sir, what about you? I says, 2 tomatoes, and potatoes. How much? 1 pound? Yes, 1 pound, 1 pound. And like this, and I came over with these bags of, but it felt good. I mean, you cannot explain this. You cannot explain this to anybody, but it felt like this was what consciousness wants. It wants 2 tomatoes and all these things. So it like some things don't seem to make sense. Yeah? I remember Papaji, he said one time that he said, sometimes I get up and I see my shoes going out the door and I get inside them and I just go with them and we go down the road. Now, this is not things that you are going to try and explain to your family and stuff, because people are just, you know. So you find it has a way also of really just being very discreet. You find discreet ways of functioning like that. One here. Thank you.
More clarity is setting in. This whole world mind, this whole made up magnificent existence of the elements and everything. There's a feeling that all of this is part of me, like I'm watching from everywhere. And then I read a little bit of Before I Am, and there's a statement about the law of causation, and I'm finding that as I find this whole elemental existence, like part of my body, just not this the whole existence part of my body, manifesting is getting easier. It's an immense power that I'm just getting introduced to. Manifesting. You're just getting what? Introduced to. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or the consciousness is getting introduced to in me. Because I'm manifesting things and making some mistakes here and there, and I'm I guess here in this unit, this consciousness is trying to make sense of the unspeakable state and everything else that exists with the elemental nature. Would you give me some more clarity on this?
This consciousness is trying to do what? Is it?
Trying to gain some clarity, because I'm finding that I'm manifesting faster. It's like an immense speed.
But if you say use a term, manifesting faster, but all these things are automatic. There's nothing deliberate about it. If you're deliberately manifesting, it's going to take effort and energy, which you don't need to be. You don't need to be endorsing energy in any particular thing. Leave it to the universe. Let the universal flow unfold by itself. You don't be concerned about that. That's not your work there. Yours is a much more subtle work. Your subtle work is merely you can observe a bit. So you're observing, but you're observing in a space of neutrality. Yeah, meaning that it's non-personal. If something is observing casually through the senses, also it's observed, but because there's no identity with what is being seen, the functioning is quite clean. It's quite clear. You see. And it doesn't create any form of confusion at all. Nothing is being confused about it. Always, somehow, as I said, the consciousness is marinating in itself. It's incubating in itself. It may sound oversimplistic, even naive perhaps, but it is such a powerful thing. You see, when you're in the body-mind mold, you're unceasingly busy. You can't keep up. Time seems to always be running out. Like this. This is the nature of the body-mind consciousness. And it is a good state because each state has its own challenges, its own difficulties, and they help the sentient beings. They squeeze you along like toothpaste, From the back, they squeeze you forward, you have to come out. As you are in those states for a bit, they get uncomfortable, and this discomfort, this pain, this suffering, you see, increases the aspiration to go to higher states of consciousness. It's inbuilt in the state that, in accordance with your maturity, your level of maturity, it will raise the heat so that you can go to the higher state. To go from the body-mind layer of consciousness to the state of witnessing, the state of presence, and finally somehow to find oneself in that absolute state. When you're in that absolute state, you don't call it I'm in the absolute state. You don't have this kind of feeling. You don't have any assessment anymore. But all the concepts, you know them as concepts. They're like playing cards. You know them, all of them. Even the highest concept, Para Brahman or something, just becomes now concept. Because you are in the concept-free zone. This is very different. When you're in the concept-free zone, you can experience concepts. You must use them in daily life. But at the same time, you will not be governed by them. So don't waste time giving too much energy merely to the elemental play. You have to. If you have children, you have family, you have to take care of your family. But you'll find that all your actions are wind assisted, meaning that some power makes it easy to do them because it's not your domain anymore. You do this. You see, it's like my mother when she was a strict vegan, but she had all the children who were not, and she's cooking for everybody to suit everybody's taste, but she's not eating that food. You see? So in the same way, sometimes you are not deeply involved in those states, but you must relate to people who are presently, for whom those states have some meaning. So you facilitate there, because you're like an headmaster. An headmaster can go to any class and teach in any class in his school. As the consciousness evolves to higher states, it can function, it can multitask, but it's not involved personally in any of those states. Yet it generates energy towards them, like that. So you don't have to worry. And if your place is to just marinate, to reflect, to meditate, to stay, be one with that neutrality. And from there, it has the power to bless every other aspect of your expression, is touch, automatically. You don't have to work on any particular aspect. Just your central, the central organ is addressed, and it supplies energy to all the others. Then everything is done like that. This is the economy of true intelligence, you see. If you're going to start by clipping leaves on a tree, it's not going to work. That is just a sort of distraction. But you must go to the central nervous system of everything. You be one with the core being. Everything works fine. Everything works fine. And you don't have to experience everything. You don't have to experience everything. If somehow consciousness brings in front of you someone who needs to know something that has not been your direct experience, it will put the experience in you. It will put the experience in you to answer this question. This is the greatness of the Supreme State. You have nothing to worry about.
But I was feeling a little, this thing that a thought would cross and I would see it manifest and I was like, you know, like stay here, stay here.
If you do that, because she's saying that sometimes you see a thought comes and it manifests into some concrete form and then something responds to that. But I would not give. This is still the mind trying a few tricks. You see, it's once you are crossing over from a lower state to the higher state, your life is changed. The natural evolution of a caterpillar is to become butterfly, isn't it? You can't be caterpillar all your life. So you come to a state and then somehow the caterpillar begin to curl up and start to go into something and then it's going to burst open. Once it becomes a butterfly, it's not going to be eating leaves anymore. It's not going to be doing this. And that leaf walking and stuff, it's finished with that. Those are older days. Once you're crossing over into the state of presence, the old state is, yes, you can go there. You know the roads, you know the maps, but it's not your address anymore. Not deeply. We saw somebody sent me one thing some while ago. It was a butterfly, it says, was going through customs. And the immigration officer looked at the passport and says, but this doesn't look like you. And the butterfly, it was a picture of a caterpillar. He says, that was an old photo. You know? So you don't have to live in the whole photo anymore. That day is finished. But if you keep going back there, somehow you start to get pulled back into those states. You must know when to leave that state. Leave that state now. You see? It will try and come in, you know, and come, you know. But you have to leave it and go to higher regions. Hi, darling.
Ever since I come back from Rishikesh,
Yes, go ahead,
lots
sweetheart.
of things are happening.
Yes.
On the surface, bad things. Our relationships are, in turmoil. Almost coming to an end, which is, and I'm in total peace.
You're in total peace?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, now my main question is how to
It's
go to
okay.
the third bird.
How can you?
Go to the third bird.
No, there isn't a third bird. No, it's good. There's the first bird. We were talking earlier today, Babaji, that there's a picture of two birds on a tree. One is on a lower branch building the nest. It's building the nest, and the nest represents our daily activity, the life of our daily activity when we are working and you have your job, your family, your business and things to do and whatever. That is the first bird building the nest. Then above them, on another branch, is the second bird. The second bird is not building anything. He's just quietly sitting there in a kind of contemplative state. But it's only observing. He's not building anything. But he's not only looking at the first bird. He's also looking at the environment. He's aware of everything. It's a very universal state. So he's just there like this, okay? So this is the bird of presence. Meaning when you come to that state, you're merely aware that life is functioning by itself. It is moving by itself, including in this body also. something makes the feelings, produces the actions, and so on. And there's a kind of, it's happening in a very natural, automatic way, mostly. Then you say, then even this second bird itself become witnessed at a certain state. Even the second bird, as high as it is, in its beautiful state of presence and peace and joy and wisdom and stillness and spaciousness, itself become phenomenal at a certain point. What by what? And I said, it's not a third bird, it's not a third bird. The other one is not a bird at all. No one can see this one. It's beyond form now. And it is within you. It is your formless presence, your formless self. Yes. Yeah, speak on. How does that
Right now will fall, or is it going to be just simply written?
You're speaking about what, the second bird or the final state?
Whatever is beyond the second bird.
Yes. Now, the question is?
Does the transition happen like a fruit which is ripe and it falls, like that specific thing happens, or it just
the fruit will be the second bird. The fruit is the second bird.
Okay, then it's falling, will it be like a phenomenon, it's falling?
This falling is falling upwards into the grace of the infinite. It's not falling on the ground. He's falling upwards into the arms of the infinite. You see? It's still one. It can still one. Even the functionality of the body in its normal functioning, that is still carry on. No one who is awake to the self curses any state. It understands. And this is what is beautiful when you have children as well too. Suppose you are a Buddha and then you have children and so on. What's going to happen? Also, you have to take care of them. The ability to look after your children and to do all these things are happening in your Buddha state. The Buddha has to use the buddhi. But it doesn't become the buddhi. It is functioning like this, you see?
Yes, the buddhi wants to know.
Yeah, go. The buddhi also wants to know.
The buddhi wants to know, will that transition or whatever that thing is becoming, going to the highway?
Yes.
Will that become clearer or will it just merge?
Yes, it cannot become clear to the place where it retains its identity as as one who has conquered anything. You see, it cannot become clear to the extent that it retains an identity as a conqueror of any state. I used to call this question, this who am I question, my piranha question. It says, as the questioner is asking the question is being eaten up. The questioner also is being eaten up. You see, at the end, there is no, I said also, the one who begins the inquiry will not finish the inquiry, but will be finished by the inquiry. You understand what is happening? That one is not real, actually. His reality is in the ultimate state. But the very inquiring places him in the ultimate, and then is less, what you may say, relative state, somehow diminishes in power. It switches around without you even knowing it. This twist of consciousness happens without you even knowing it. In a way, you know it, but you don't know it as a separate knower of it. The knowing and it is the same thing. I said earlier, a few minutes ago, that we are all experiencing the complete state, but you're unaware of it. It's a bit of a paradox, because how can you experience something you're not aware of? But you're going to see what it means. You see? Now, let's say, for instance, many people, when they come to a state of awakening, they say, oh my God, like everything has become beautiful. Everything has become beautiful. All this love is flowing. Everything is there. But it is not true. It has always been there. What has happened is that your blindness has been peeled away and you're seeing things as they've always been. But because the blindness was seeing from a certain place and it's not anymore there, it seems as though all this is new. It seems that it's new to you, but actually it is how it's always been. There's always kindness, generosity, love, peace, and joy in the world. We don't see it because our conditioning projects another reality that you're trying to fulfill. And while we are so engaged with satisfying our projections, you miss what is here in its ordinary brilliance. Go, carry on.
It's the new thing is left.
Yeah.
How to know that it's when does one come to know? Or just
You are putting a lot of importance on knowing. This is a classical way. No, it's yeah. Okay. Spontaneously, you will know. Just like when you're in love, you spontaneously know. The first time you're in love, you don't have to go to anybody and say, "Is this love?" You know it is love, isn't it? You fall in love. You don't have to go and ask, your elder sister. Listen, I have this feeling in me. Is that love? No, you automatically know it's love. When you're sick, you don't think, am I sick? No, you know you're out of balance. It's a kind of harmony. And in the same way, it's not that, you see, presently these questions are there because you're thinking, but how will I be sure that this is not just another state of mind? You see? Well, as long as you are there, you will not know. As long as you, the one who presently feels apart from that state, as long as you persist in your identity, you will not know. That one will go altogether. And only the natural one will remain. And the natural one doesn't have any of these doubts. And that natural one is here right now. You see, all our states have been intermingled. Sometimes, mostly, we are listening to the level of our conditioned mind, the body-mind functioning of, you see, like this. We are using that a lot. The higher state of mind, which is state of presence, we only occasionally come to that zone, and then you feel so wonderful. You say, oh my God, I feel so good, I feel so light, I feel completely empty, like this. And then someone sends you a bad email, and then you're back again like a reflex in the old state of mind, like this. You see? And when will you come to the absolute? Let's talk about this a little bit. When will you come to the absolute? You are who is going to come to the absolute. Now, this is going to confuse the hell out of you, right? Okay? When are you going to come to the absolute? Who are you to come to the absolute? Should we push it a little bit and try on this one? Yes. Because otherwise, I don't like to leave things cloudy, because the mind lives in the clouds. Okay? So let's just thin things out a little bit so we have some clear space. What it means, when are you going to reach the absolute? I want to move from the person to the presence. Who is this I who wants to move from person to presence? It is the one tremendous belief in this world that keeps this illusion going. It is the one thing, the one ingredient, the belief in the identity. Because what is the difference between us, really, in our functionality? We are just different states of mind. Different states of mind conditioning gives rise to the sense of variety in us. And you are unrepeatable from day to day. You can't repeat yesterday. You cannot repeat it. Even if you had all the cameras in the world and all the monitors in the world and all the acting skills in the world, you cannot reproduce 5 minutes of yesterday of your own life. You cannot do it. You see? You have no control over it, because so many factors contribute to your experience that are untraceable. So everything is fresh. Everything is fresh in a way like this. Now the question comes. Who are you to move from person? We say we're We gave this example loosely that we are 3 layered. First layer is the body-mind conditioned state of being we call the ego or the person. We follow like this? If you don't get a repeat, because what I'm saying now is brilliantly simple, therefore experienced to be the most difficult thing in the world for the mind. Okay? The first layer, we can say, is a layer of our body-mind existence, whereby the consciousness believes itself to be the body that it needs in order to enjoy experiencing. Without the body or somebody, consciousness cannot have the sense of individuality and grow within the paradigm of a person growing. Okay? So the first layer is consciousness believing itself to be the body. I am this particular body. I'm a man, male body. And then whatever environment I've grown in, and the maturity of my parents to the extent of what they will program in my mind first, because they are my first love affair. So they are going to tell me the things I'm first going to believe. And then like this. They're not guilty, by the way. It's all consciousness programmed them also. Right down the line, back to Adam or whoever it is at the front, the queue. So like this, we're all like that. So the person, the sense of the person is the first layer. And largely humanity, we say we're nearly 8 billion human beings on the face of the planet today, alive. The vast majority are living in the mode, I am the person, I am the body, this is me. You're talking to each other, look at me. My name is John, not Jeff, okay? John. We have this type of belief. I am my name, I am my body, I am my shape, I am my conditioning. And nobody challenges this at all. You get your job on it, you get married on it, you get your certificate, your death certificate, everything is on this. It's based upon these identities that we wear, okay? The next layer of our expression is of conscious presence. This is second bird level, whereby you have the ability as consciousness to observe life more. This is a higher state and higher functioning of consciousness, whereby the consciousness is self-aware. It is aware of itself as a state of presence, not as a person. It does not need a resume. It does not need information on biographical and dates and so on. It does not need that. So it is purely aware of itself, spatially. It still feels the body, it still feels the senses, but it's not governed by the body or the senses. Okay? It is aware of its own conditioning as a person, but it's not tied up with that conditioning. Okay? It is functioning primarily as a state of presence. If you imagine you had an operation, some of you may have had one, and you have been deeply anesthetized, and you're coming out of that state. Okay? And suppose you wake up and none of your senses are reporting anything. You could not see anything, touch, feel, hear, or smell anything at all. You're as though you're floating in this space, this vacuum. Okay? You would still have the sense, I am. You would still know you exist. You may say, I can't see, I cannot feel what's happening to me, and so on. But you will still have the natural sense, I exist. This I am feeling is what I call the state of presence. It is from here that you are observing that so many things are absent. The senses are not functioning, the mind is confused. All of this is what's from presence. But presence by itself, the feeling you naturally have, I am, the feeling, I exist feeling. This I exist feeling is neither male nor female. It has no particular religion. It is just pure conscious presence. You understand? And you know it also. Either through meditation or you have just spent a season in Rishikesh, you are introduced to the state of presence, whereby you can observe your functioning of your life and the lives of others, and there's a space that is not functioning. It is just perceiving, state of presence. Then one more state, you may say, which is the source state from where these two emanate also. That is you may call it your pra-Brahman state, you may call it the state of the Jnani, you may call it the substratum, you may call it the pure awareness or whatever it is. Okay? No books have been written about it. is the wordless state. That is the highest state. This is the womb of existence itself, from where all this manifests play. In the sense of presence also come and go with night and day, because when you go into the state of deep sleep, the sense I am and the sense of presence is not there. So that's also a rotating state, if you follow. They're an absolute state. Okay, we want to represent by saying here or whichever, the absolute state. That is always here. It is that within you which is that which is untouched from before the beginning of time unto unending time. It is unalterable, immutable, perfect. That is our immortal state. That is your imperishable state. It is here, now. What is the purpose of the existence? Well, of course, people will have different ideas depending upon the level of their spiritual maturity. Not their scientific maturity, their spiritual maturity. Not their biological maturity, their spiritual maturity. Because it is only in the wisdom of man that these things can be known. What has happened then, if we're three-tiered, three-layered, so to speak, I'm using this like this. How do we move from the lowest to the highest? Or how did we move from the highest to the lowest? You can put it also like this. Or did we move at all? Important question. Huh? Depending upon where your functioning is. If your functioning is still your report when you speak about life, you can tell where your passion is. If your passion is into material nature, you will see. And that is where your intelligence, where your heart is somehow merged. If it is in the state of presence, you will feel that state of presence. People have more space in them. They are more kind. They are more. You feel it when you meet someone who is kind, who has got space, who has got the God vibration in them. You know it, don't you? You know it, isn't it? You're different from someone who just want your money or something, or just want something else from you. But when you meet someone who is in a state of presence, there is an attraction to them. If you are also evolved in that way, and even if you're not evolved in that way, but you have some predisposition inside you towards that state, you will be attracted to this type of person. That's the state of presence. Once you're in the state of presence, your life is much more open, more panoramic in its expression. But at the same time, you can be quite humble, very quiet. Also, nobody will know. There's no distinguishing features apart from what I'm telling you. People will respond to you through your vibration, your aura, presence, whichever way you want to call it. Beyond this state, in the state we call the state of the avuta or the jnani state, which is pure consciousness, that is when the consciousness is aware of itself as consciousness. When consciousness is aware of itself as the body, it becomes the person. When consciousness is aware of itself as presence, it becomes the beingness or the presence. When consciousness is purely aware of itself as consciousness, it is pure awareness itself. But the point I wanted to make, how do we move from state to state? Which state are you now? In one particular state, or you cross over states? Are you merging in and out states? Are you a blend of person and beingness mostly? Or a blend of beingness and absolute? Or you slip up and down? Okay? Now, whatever you may say, if you say I am in a state of presence mostly, but when I'm with my family I tend to go to person. Some people say like this. When I'm with my family, I tend to go back to person. But when I'm away from family, I can be in presence more. But when I go to Kailash or someplace like that, I feel like even the presence is kind of seem more distant. So this is still conditioning. Means that there's some condition, isn't it? In the pure state, the scenes change, but the seer remains unchanged. Interesting. How do we move from state to state? Is it a natural evolution? You can say like this. With each state, you must become conscious of that state. If you are conscious of the state, it means that you're observing creates a distinction. So if you can observe the state of presence, it means that you must be beyond presence. If you can observe person, you must be beyond person. If you can observe person, you must be presence. If you can observe presence, you must be in the state of the absolute awareness. But don't give it to your mind to turn it into some mental minestrone or something. You just somehow continue being authentic in your present state, be one with it. And by itself, even as you sleep, it's maturing. Something like this happened like that. Microphone. It's good.
Thank you, Mooji.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for secretly reappearing again. I wasn't expecting to see you again after Rishikesh.
True.
I feel fine. I mean, everything seems okay. Everything's just happening by itself. And I don't have to think too much for things to happen. And the more and more I get involved in this state, I feel more and more detached to things. And things, detached to people, including family. I mean, I almost feel as if the responsibilities I always thought I had are sort of not important anymore. And for some reason, it feels a little, and there's something inside me that says that it feels wrong, at
Yes.
least unfair to the people that I'm detaching myself from.
I thank you for that. You're not deliberately detaching yourself. You're not deliberately detaching yourself, okay? I want to say something because this happened particularly in Indian societies, or culture also. It happened in my own self also. With a certain amount of detachment comes. One, I feel we are too attached in life generally. I really do. Because attachment and love is not the same thing. There's a lot of expectations with attachments, a lot of expectation, okay? With love, it's a bit different. Love is very generous. It doesn't actually ask to be loved back, actually. Love is so spacious. It is so powerful because of that. Attachments are formed primarily because of our own insecurities also. And because of our projections, like this. I would rather put it the other way. Because very often people in all cultures, in fact, they don't mind to pray to God, but they don't want you to get to God. You see? Because for whatever reason we have certain projections of what I want you to be. And normally a monk is not one of them. Okay? So there is a certain amount of expectations that come from family, and also we do manipulate as family to try and make each other be the person we want them to be. This happens also. I would rather say that but it could be changed, that someone who is discovering themselves, your family, your village, your town should be very proud. So, my God, amongst us is revealed one who somehow has fallen under the spell of grace and God has drawn them. How blessed we are, actually. because your liberation opens a door for them also, greater than any earthly door that they can pass through. But we rarely consider this. In fact, I feel actually, if I can indulge my little fantasy, that every government should sponsor so many people to go to satsang every year. Sponsor them full board, everything. You should go and spend 6 months in satsang. At least every 3 years, go 3 months at least. It would be good for our nation to have so many blessed beings. I think in this country also one time you had a lot more awakened beings and so on. But now it's not the thing, and sometimes people, they feel so like they really lost you if you discover your spirituality. Not if you have become, some, a dictator or something, or a great scientist or a great musician or something, it's still my boy, like this. But you are discovering your God self. Ooh, it's got a bit far, you know what I mean, sort of stuff, So it is to do with a kind of conditioning also. You see? In the West, people would think you're a little bit mad. He's really gone off now because, he's spending all his time in his room meditating, He's not normal like his brother. At least he's on the computer all the time, But you are meditating peaceful, No, we don't want a son that is so peaceful. No. Useless. So, like this, I feel that I don't want to back down from these type of things. I don't feel that the way forward is to be disrespectful to your family. Not at all. Not like that. But I feel, as is the case in my own family, like this, I had to stand up, and address and, because I became, first of all, very angry because I felt so judged and like this, that I was bubbling a bit with some anger, frustration. But I had to talk to my mother, and talk to her on, because she's also very versed in the scriptures, but myself also. So I just began to respond to her from this way. And it changed, everything changed with my mother. We were brought up as Christians, no? And the case is with my own mother. She, even in Christianity, there are many denominations, and they all have a scratch at each other. It's the same old human game, okay? And I remember watching one of these, one of my brothers, they got this, where you can watch all kind of televisions from around the world. What you call this thing? Satellite. So she's watching now, the religious channel. And we were sitting together, and my mother was talking like, these ones, also Christians, different denomination. They're all going to hell anyway. So understand? So I was very upset, and I said to her, I said, Mom, yeah, can I talk to you about something? She said, yes. He said, if Jesus was sitting right here today with us, you think he'll be very happy with what you just said just now? And she says, what did I say? I said, you said that all these people, they are going to hell. They're Christians as well. She said, I said this? I said, yes, you said it, no? She said, oh no, he would not be very happy if I heard me say this. I was very surprised, because she's very strong, And she says, I don't know, no, he would not be very happy. And then somehow something relaxed here. And then each time I heard that she would speak like this, I would challenge, but in this very clear way. And I found that everything changed. Everything changed. Her bark was bigger than her bite, And suddenly, of all our children, myself became the most comfortable with my mother, because I could challenge her just by this. So the anger went, everything went. It depends now. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, because sometimes you're a very stubborn person. Sometimes you are the stubborn person. I don't know. But I feel if you feel in your heart what you're doing is righteous in your heart, then it cannot turn out to be wrong for someone else. I don't feel like this. I feel that they will go, ouch, ouch, and why, oh. But that's not wrong. You have to give people time to adjust also. And to trust in that which brought you here. That which is speaking inside your heart also. You know? So I don't feel it is disrespectful to not go along with the expectations of a family if you feel they are unjust or they are not feeding your true being. Then I feel these things can and should be challenged, but in a respectful way and in a way that might bring some light to them. And maybe they say, look, I don't want to talk to you for so long. It has happened before. But gradually they come around, or sometimes they have a fear for you that you're going to go crazy. You're going to be begging on the street and all this type of thing, you know. Okay? I had this fear also one time because also for myself, there was one time after I stopped teaching and so on, I was not a good saver of money and so on. And I could not see at all how am I going to make any money, and I could not see how to do it. And the energy was not expressing like going out to look for things. It just wasn't doing it. And this brought up some mistrust a little bit. I said, I wonder if I made up all this God thing and all this stuff. Because, you know, like, where are you? Like, you know, come, you're late, you know, like, I'm hungry, I got nothing to do. But the fears of going out and looking in bins for food and begging, it never happened. But your faith will be tested, and so it should be like this. Otherwise, we say things very glibly with our mouths, and then when it comes to time of testing, you know, life is so beautiful because it's giving you so many opportunities to test your growth, to test your understanding, to test your claims also. You see? So, yes. We are good? You want to say something?
Yeah.
Always got the mic. Hi, darling.
See, everything we talked about just now, like the presence, everything is flowing really nicely.
Yeah, keep the microphone straight, yeah.
Yeah. The feet are walking where they want to go. You know, when you're sometimes you see the identity, you stay as the observer, and also you somehow automatically a reflection about the absolute or the imperishable comes. But when I was observing this, sorry, you know, from Rishikesh, there's this acute pain in my arm over here and in my back. So when I came back, funnily enough, I opened one of your books and there it said, look at the pain. I'm born in that pain and use this as an opportunity to see what it's saying.
Yes.
So when I looked at it, you know, when I observe that pain, there are actually two voices which are arguing with each other. I can see them both fighting, and I'm staying away. I'm not getting involved with them. But the minute the thought comes that I'm neither of this, neither this one nor this one. I mean, I'm confirming that and I'm not this. These identities or this body, or the pain in this arm right here, it gets like it's being stabbed. So you kind of localize it. It's this one affirmation which I say, I'm not this, either this. I don't have to listen to this. I mean, I kind of observe. I just stay silent. But
well, this is a phenomenon that happened. I am happy that you talk about it so we can address it now. Because actually, you know, there are so many forces, both good and bad. Some are supporting your realization, others are hindering your realization. There are many forces that we have absorbed in our growth, in our growing up, some will try and sabotage any opportunity for your liberation. You see? And they will come in ways to do with deep conditioning, deep suppressions and so on. They'll come. And they can take these forms also. There are people who I know who have come to satsang and then actually at some stage as something is opening up in the heart, tremendous, migraine come, and they have to go out. They're holding their head. They're going out. They go outside. They feel better, as though something goes. You stay out here. Don't listen in there. You go out here. Sit under the coconut tree. Look how good you feel. You see? You stay in satsang. See how bad you feel. And you have to say, but wait a second. What is this? What type of thing is this? It happens for some people. They feel tremendous. There's some tremendous pain or coming like that. And I say, yes, use this pain as an opportunity to clarify your true position. Can you be in any of those locations or whatever is happening there? It's only phenomenal. You stay as the witness of them, like this. And that is the most sure thing that I can point you to do. You say that when you do that, when you're clear in your mind that I am neither of these two voices, which is an excellent affirmation, then the pain intensify in one of those points. Okay? It's as though you're not getting away. You're not getting away. Then bear it. Sometimes you have to feel inside your heart, I don't care you take me away. You can't take this away from me. And then somehow it is gone. Because it doesn't have any real power. It's all illusion power. But illusion power can hurt. Delusion power can hurt also. In the realm of the body-mind, they can hurt. You see? But you stay put in the ground of the beingness itself, and you'll see that somehow they go. Strong lesson, but still a small price to pay for freedom. If you're going to run away every time you do something, you run away, then you will not you'll not win yourself back from these states of delusions, So you chop him, don't finish off the job. Sometimes we say the snake was in the house, now his head is in the garden, okay? Don't start to celebrate. The tail is still in the room. Okay, so you make sure you finish him. Don't be celebrating. Oh, he's out. He's a rattlesnake. The tail in the room is still not out of the house yet. So don't be quick to somehow hold on to these states like, oh yes, thank you, everything is fine now. Just make sure like this, and don't be afraid also of evil, because it is all in the mind. Don't be afraid of them. They're not real, they're not true. They're born from delusion. Okay, we are good. You want to finish off? Say something you want.
Yeah, like when you say that little bit of that tail is still there.
Yes.
So this identity, I can, when I observe this pain or whatever, the head, everywhere it keeps moving, and I keep watching it goes away. But this, and then one other layer of identity seems to fall. It's like, see, even this was an identity, even this, and like you said about this ego thing, the voice, which is, the other voice is so obnoxious, you really don't want to hear what it's saying.
Obnoxious one, we all know the obnoxious one, don't we? We know the obnoxious. It's the same guy. He's all over the world. He speaks every language. He dresses in every costume. The same person.
So this little hanging identity. For the first time, maybe yesterday or day before, I was watching a video of yours. Who's going to be awake in this dream? Who's going to be the one who is awake in this dream? And I realized that yes, at a very subtle level, I was still not ready to to give this person away completely. I recognize that. I'm still wanting that little bit of that person, still. And I'm asking you, how do can we just, even that dot which wants to remain, I truly, today can say, I don't want that dot even. I don't even want the...
I'm going to answer you, but I want everyone to use your question as we're closing now.
Yeah.
How many people are defending, supporting, retaining the sense of personhood because of fear that, I don't want to let it go completely, the sense of personhood, because there is still some value in it. And do you know what is the value of personhood that you should try to keep it? You see? It's a really important point, no? Because actually, whatever you retain consciously, deliberately, it will grow. It will grow. It is like some plants, you can chop them once at the root, they're finished. But some you have to chop them and you burn the roots, and if there's some little bits left in the ground, it's going to grow again. And the weed of ego is a bit like this. That consciously, if you say, I still need this, rather than choose completely the state of the absolute or in your heart, or the state of presence, and hand the person to the presence. Say, whatever presence chooses, or I as presence choose, it will be free of the egoic influence. Okay? Because what you're calling ego can sometimes be remnants of certain kind of conditioning that in themselves don't do any harm. They are just on the surface. They do no harm. But when you want to keep something, when you want to retain something, then you endorse a certain energy in this, and that is you're going to retain some link with that. But you don't need to, by the way, to do that. But I just want to know that you search yourself and see, are you retaining consciously some identity with the ego that you feel, I'm not ready to leave this yet? Because I remember once, and I was going to finish off by saying this, in Tiruvannamalai, one lady, she came on stage and she said, she was asking a question, I want a yes or no question answer from you, that, am I going to be free if I continue like this, And I said, you're missing something out. You're missing something out, because you're not speaking the full truth, because the full truth is too risky for you. The full truth is that you're saying inside, give me the answer to this, but don't touch this, because this I don't want you to look at this, but give me the answer to that. But that is linked to this. And she burst out crying. She was crying and laughing, actually. She was laughing out of embarrassment that she was caught like this, and she caught herself and she laughed. She says, you're right, you caught me. So sometimes we are holding on to something, and this I would ask, that if you recognize it, just to tell you, I can't tell you, give it up. He said, if you wish to go beyond this, then you should offer it to the fire of grace by that. Otherwise, you're retaining a kind of duality, and this duality is going to fight against itself. You're going to sometimes feel like this, sometimes feel like this, sometimes. And you cut your power when you try to hold two horses going in different directions. Like that. Now, you say, if there's even a seed of this inside, I want it to burn. Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good attitude. Just the attitude. You don't have to go and put something in the fire, but inwardly, mentally, in the heart, you say, yes, then you leave it. Don't give any more importance to it. Don't give any more importance to it. Don't make any kind of ritual out of that. Just now you turn away. You've done it now. Once you flick the switch of the fan, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go and stop the blade. Because you flick the switch of the fan is still going to turn for a while. Okay? Once you flick the switch, you don't have to go and stop the blade. You flick the switch is enough. Flicking the switch is like, no more to do with this, I leave this now. Even if it comes in front of you, you just carry on with your stuff. Because you can live without it, but it cannot live without you. You must judge which is the greater thing, and then choose the greater, and then the lesser thing, it will go by itself. You don't have to wait for it to fade away. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Very good, very good. And what a pleasant morning it turned out to be, isn't it? Grace organized this satsang.
I have a small gift for you.
Her name is Grace.
Jai Gauri Shankara Jaya Vishwanath Jaya Parvati Pati Bholenath Jai Gauri Shankara Jaya Vishwanath Jaya Parvati Pati Bholenath 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 Jai Parvati Pati Bholenath Jai Parvati Pati Bholenath Jai